The Joe Koch Warehouse books. Good Lord. To sum it up, back around 1988, I had been kind of wrung dry by The Dark Knight and Watchmen. Just the most incredible things I had ever experienced in the comic book world. And when those, series were gone or whatever, and I had to go back to kind of just buying books off the rack, it was so dry. Everything was so dry. I remember trying to get into Hellblazer, trying to get into Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol. They were all right, but you know what? They were no substitute for what had just happened over the last couple of years. Miller's Daredevil, The Dark Knight, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, and Watchmen. And I was reading the Comic Buyer's Guide at the time, in the late 80s. And instead of going back to my usual mail order lists and all that, I decided, because, excuse me, what, honey? Will you go on? Go on. Yeah, go on. I'm making a video. Victoria is down here with her allergies and all that. Anyway, instead of going back to my usual mail order lists, I was reading the Comic Buyer's Guide at the time, and the Joe Koch Warehouse had they were inserting huge full page 4 or 6 pages of books for sale at wholesale prices. And I was thinking that I might like to get in on some of these wholesale prices. They seemed pretty reasonable at the time. It was something like, just as an example, you could buy one copy of a book. You could buy one copy of a near mint book for $1.50. You could buy 3 copies of the same book in near mint for $1 a piece, or you could buy 6 or more copies of the same book in near mint for 55 cents a piece. Now, I'm just like totally winging it here because I don't remember the specifics. I don't have my Comic Buyer's Guide issues to refer to anymore, but anyway. And I don't remember the catalyst of all this, but I suddenly had this shift in buying back issues. I wanted to start to gather. There might have even been a little speculative thing in there. Oh my goodness. I wanted to start to gather some of these more esoteric titles. Marvel and DC Bronze Age titles. The Trigger Twins. Marvel Chillers. Even Commandy was considered an esoteric title at the time, Knight Rider, Tor, Rima the Jungle Girl, and of course Night Nurse. Yes, we all know about Night Nurse now, but nobody gave a shit about it back in those days. And there was another book, Laurel and Hardy #1 from DC, circa 1973. It was the only issue of the series, Laurel and Hardy #1. My first Koch orders were for wholesale copies of Bernie Wrightson's Swamp Thing run, #1 through 10. I ordered a dozen books for every one. And if my memory is serving me correctly, like #1 was like $3.50 a copy, $3.50 a copy, and by the time you got all the way up to #10, they were 75 cents a copy. But nonetheless, I ordered a dozen of each of those books. My very first Koch Warehouse order. They came in, huge box, wonderful. I remember opening it. I got, distinctly remember 3 copies of #1. All were in kind of the very fine to mintish range. And then the number of copies began to kind of exponentially grow as we got to #10. 3 copies of #1, 3 copies of #2, 3 copies of #3, 4 copies of #4, 5 copies of #5, 6 copies of #6. #7, because of the Batman, I got like 3 copies of that. But #8, 9, and 10, I got 10 to 12 copies apiece. Beautiful near mint stuff. That was my introduction to the Joe Koch Warehouse at the wholesale prices. I also remember too at the time Spider-Man, Ditko Spider-Man. Koch had at the time in their lists of offerings in the Comic Buyer's Guide, you could still get Ditko Spider-Mans, even at wholesale prices. Now, I surmise that if you ordered 10 copies, you weren't going to get 10 copies. But it was something like the last couple of issues of the Ditko run, you could get them in very good to find for $3.50 a piece. The issues leading up to the end, again, very good find, $7.50 a piece. And from like number 20 on or something like that, they were $10.50 a piece. Again, whoever ordered wholesale of those books in those grades, God love them, because man, you're sure as hell not going to find those kind of bargains now. Anyway, the only Silver Age, and I'll say this to wrap this part 1 of the Koch video up. The only Silver Age that I was buying from Koch were the Captain America books, from 100 to 109, and a couple of the Shield books that I loved so much, specifically number 4. I remember ordering number 4. I think I requested about 6 copies, probably. Again, I kind of went with those whole numbers: 3 copies, 6 copies, 8 copies, 12 copies. And the Shield number 4, as best as I can remember, at wholesale prices, were $1.50 a copy. But I do remember getting 3 copies back, and I still have the best copy that I got of those 3, and I'll show that when I do the close-ups of these Koch Warehouse books that I still have in my collection. I literally received a couple of hundred books from the Koch Warehouse. I sold most of them during the 1990s, when I first began liquidating my collection at some of the local Harrisburg, Pennsylvania cons. And certainly by the time I got into eBay selling around 2000, 2001, those early days, I sold most of the rest of all those Koch books that I had. But again, I'll come back with another quick video, and it occurs to me now that I didn't even show you a single book. I got a whole stack. I got like 50 Koch books here that I didn't even get into. So let me come back, do a part 2 for this Koch Warehouse video, and I'll blow through this stack, and then after that I'll give y'all a close-up view of these very same books. So thanks for watching, thanks for sticking with me. It's very exciting. Yes, it's very exciting. Hang in there, I'll be right back. Bye bye.